All right, so you know how much we all love those celebrity home tours, right? Those incredible estates. Well, today we're diving into a place that's kind of both.
Oh,
The Minnesota Governor's Mansion.
interesting.
But there's a twist. For Governor Tim Walz, it's not just his, official residence.
Right.
It's his only home.
Wow. So no lake house getaway for Governor Walls.
Nope. This mansion on Summit Avenue, it's where he lives full time.
That's pretty unique. I guess when your home is a 1912 Tudor revival beauty, who needs a vacation home?
Exactly. 16,000 square feet, 20 rooms.
Yeah.
Estimated value, $4.5 million.
Practically a castle. And like any good castle, it has stories to tell.
Oh, absolutely. And we're going to uncover them all, from those grand architectural details to the, let's say, spirited debates around its recent
Wow,
renovations.
those
Yeah, we'll
renovations.
get to those. But first, let's talk about the mansion's, castle vibes. What's the deal with this Tudor revival style?
Well, think classic English manor houses. You know those steeply pitched roofs, intricate brickwork, those iconic bay windows? That's Tudor revival.
So basically, built to impress.
Exactly. Popular style in the late 19th, early 20th centuries, a way to evoke history, grandeur, permanence.
And the governor's mansion, it definitely fits that bill.
Absolutely. Picture that stately brick exterior, each brick, each window frame, meticulously crafted.
It's not just a pretty facade, is it?
Oh, definitely not. That brick is meant to last.
Right.
Like stepping back in time, but with modern day solidity.
Speaking stepping back in time, you can't forget those grounds. It's an estate, not just a house.
You're right. Landscaped grounds, tall evergreen trees, a sense of privacy, separation from the outside world.
And that wrought iron gate, it's not just for show, is it?
Not at all. It's like entering hallowed ground, transitioning from the public sphere into a world of stately seclusion.
Okay, I'm sold on the outside. Let's go inside. What's the first impression?
Grand entryway whispers opulence, history. Intricate wood paneling sets the tone.
Oh, we're not talking just any wood, are we?
No, no, think rich mahogany, oak, maybe even some walnut, all meticulously carved, polished to a shine.
Now that's an entrance. What other design gems are hiding in this place?
Well, let's move on to the formal dining room. Classic elegance meets majestic grandeur.
I like the sound of that.
Long, polished table, fine china, glassware with delicate gold accents. This is where state dinners, important functions happen.
Got it. So we've got the impress the dignitaries room covered,
Mm,
but governors need to unwind too, right?
of course. For that, we head to the sunroom. Total contrast.
Oh,
Tall, arched windows, natural light floods the room. Soft colors, airy, peaceful, an oasis.
sounds lovely. Now, no grand mansion is complete without a library. What's the governor's mansion's library like?
Picture this. Dark wood bookshelves lining the walls, filled with those leather-bound classics, the scent of old books, maybe a hint of pipe tobacco, deep, comfy leather seating. You can practically feel the weight of history in this room.
Wow. So we've got impressive dining room, tranquil sunroom. What about spaces where, you know, things get done? Official business
Right. For that, we head down to the basement.
in the basement.
Don't let the location fool you. This meeting room is all business, but still beautifully designed. They've blended old and new here.
Oh, how so?
Large, heavy wooden table, but surrounded by modern floral upholstered chairs. Touch of modern art in this historic setting.
Love that. Now, we've toured the public spaces, but what about the private areas, the family room, where they can just kick back and be themselves?
Ah, the family room, where the formality melts away.
I can imagine.
A cozy, intimate space. Maybe dark red walls creating a sense of warmth. Dim lighting for privacy. You can almost picture the governor and his family unwinding here after a long day.
Okay, let's talk about Governor Walz to choosing to live in the mansion full time. Is it a statement of dedication, a way to cut down on commute time, or something else entirely? What are your thoughts?
You know, it's a fascinating choice. Most governors, even those who use the official residence, still keep a private home.
Right.
It seems to suggest a desire to fully embrace the role, to make the mansion a true symbol of commitment to the people of Minnesota.
It's a powerful message, isn't it? This isn't just a house. It's the embodiment of the governorship.
Exactly. And it also speaks to the mansion as a public space, a place that belongs to the people. It blurs the lines between personal and official life.
Okay, before we get too philosophical, let's talk about something a little more concrete. Those recent renovations. Big, beautiful old houses need love, but sometimes that love Comes with a hefty price tag.
Oh, absolutely. And in this case, we're talking about a $13 million price tag. That's enough to raise some eyebrows.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
So let's break it down. What exactly went into this multi-million-dollar makeover?
Well, the renovations were spread out over several years, each focusing on a different aspect of the mansion's upkeep. It's a historical building. It's not just about slapping on a fresh coat of paint.
All right, walk us through it. What were some of the key projects?
First up, in 2015, they tackled the roof.
The roof.
A building this grand needs a roof that's just as impressive. The old slate tiles were replaced, new ones to ensure weatherproofing, durability for years to come.
Makes sense. A leaky roof on a historic mansion is not a good look. What came next?
In 2018, it was all about updating those essential systems. Plumbing, electrical, bringing a century-old building up to modern safety and functionality standards.
Definitely not cutting corners there. So they tackle the exterior and the essential inner workings. What about preserving those gorgeous historical features we've been talking about?
Well, in 2023, they undertook a major interior restoration project. Goal: maintain the historical aesthetics and structural integrity of the mansion's interior, painstakingly restoring the wood paneling, the carpets, bringing back that original grandeur.
Wow. That's dedication to detail. So they've covered the roof, the plumbing, the electrical, even the interior restoration. What else could there be?
Well, in 2021, they took on energy efficiency, added insulation, switched to LED lighting, reducing the mansion's environmental impact and energy costs.
It's amazing how they've managed to blend the old and new. But let's get back to that $13 million price tag. I can imagine that sparked some debate.
Oh, absolutely. Balancing historical preservation with responsible spending. Is it an essential investment to maintain a piece of Minnesota's heritage? Or an extravagant expense that could have been scaled back?
That's a great point. And it's something anyone who's ever owned an older home can probably relate to. Those renovation costs can really add up.
Absolutely. But in this case, it's not just fixing a leaky faucet. We're talking about preserving a piece of history, a symbol of the state.
That's a great question. And it's one we'll have to keep in mind as we continue our deep dive into the governor's mansion.
Indeed. Welcome back. We're continuing our deep dive into the Minnesota Governor's Mansion.
You know, thinking about all these incredible features, that grand entryway, the formal dining room, that cozy family room.
Right?
I can't help but wonder about all the stories those walls could tell.
It's true. Each room must hold a piece of the state's history.
From those quiet family moments to, those big decisions that affect all Minnesotans.
Exactly. And it makes Governor Walz's choice to live here full-time even more intriguing.
Yeah. It's not just a home. It's a constant reminder of the weight of that office.
You're right. It really adds another layer to the whole living in history thing.
Yeah.
Imagine hosting a family dinner in the same dining room where state dinners have been held for over a century.
Whoa, talk about pressure. But it also humanizes the role of governor a bit, right? Reminds us that they're not just figures in the news, but real people with families and everyday lives.
Absolutely. It makes you wonder what it's like to balance those two worlds, the personal and the official, all within those same walls.
It must be a unique experience. Okay, I have to ask, do we know anything about the personal touches that make this grand mansion a home for the current governor and his family?
Well, gotta respect their privacy, of course. But you can imagine personal touches here and there, family photos on the mantle, maybe a favorite piece of art in the living room.
Right, those little details that make it a home and not just a museum.
Exactly. And that's what makes the Minnesota Governor's Mansion so fascinating. A place where history and personal stories intersect. It's not just a beautiful building, it's a living, breathing testament to the people who have shaped Minnesota.
Well said. Okay, we've talked about the architecture, the design, the governor's unique choice to make this his only residence, and even those controversial renovations. But you mentioned earlier that the governor's mansion has a story to tell. What else can you share?
Well, the mansion itself has seen a lot of history unfold within its walls, but its location is also significant. Summit Avenue in St. Paul, one of the most historic and prestigious streets in the state.
Yeah, it's like an open-air museum of grand architecture, right? You can practically feel the history as you walk down the street.
Exactly. Summit Avenue was once home to some of the wealthiest and most influential families in Minnesota.
Ooh, so we're talking lavish parties, horse-drawn carriages, maybe even a scandal or two.
Perhaps. But Summit Avenue is more than just a symbol of wealth. It's a living museum of architectural styles, spanning decades. A testament to the architectural heritage of St. Paul.
It's amazing to think the governor's mansion is just one piece of this grand historical puzzle.
And it's a puzzle that invites exploration. As you stroll down Summit Avenue, you encounter a stunning array of architectural styles.
Oh, like what?
We're talking Italianate, with its elaborate brackets and ornate details, Queen Anne with its turrets and towers,
Hmm.
Richardsonian Romanesque with its massive stone arches, even some beautiful examples of colonial revival.
So basically an architecture lover's dream come true.
It really is. And each home has its own unique story to tell, its own secrets whispered through the generations.
You're making me want to grab a map and start exploring right now. But before we do, you mentioned ghost stories earlier. Do any of them take place on Summit Avenue?
Oh, absolutely. No historic neighborhood is complete without its share of ghostly tales. And Summit Avenue has some real gems. Legend has it that some of these grand old mansions are haunted by the spirits of their former residents.
Okay, spill the tea. What have you heard?
One of the most popular stories involves the ghost of a heartbroken socialite who roams the halls of her former home searching for her lost love.
Oh.
They say you can sometimes hear the rustle of her silk gown or catch a glimpse of her fleeting shadow in the moonlight.
That's both sad and spooky. Okay, I'm officially intrigued. Maybe after our deep dive, we can head over to Summit Avenue and do a little ghost hunting ourselves.
Huh. You never know what we might find. But for now, let's just appreciate the beauty and history of this incredible street. It's a reminder that every place has a story. Every building holds secrets waiting to be uncovered.
Well, stay tuned for part 3, where we'll continue our exploration of this historic neighborhood.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the Minnesota Governor's Mansion.
We've explored its architectural grandeur, its luxurious interior, all that fascinating history embedded in its very walls.
Right.
But now it's time to step outside,
Yeah.
take a stroll through the neighborhood.
Because a house, no matter how grand,
Right.
it's still part of a larger story.
You got it. And in this case, we're not talking about just any neighborhood.
Nope.
We're on Summit Avenue,
Summit Avenue in St. Paul.
one of the most historic and prestigious streets in the entire state.
Imagine this. Grand Victorian mansions
Okay.
lining the street, those meticulously manicured lawns, mature trees casting long shadows on the sidewalk,
It's like stepping back in time.
into a world of timeless elegance.
It sounds like the perfect setting for a governor's mansion.
It is. It's not just a home, it's a statement.
Right.
And Summit Avenue, it has a fascinating story all its own.
Okay.
It was once the address
Oh, wow.
for some of the wealthiest and most influential families in Minnesota.
So we're talking.
Industrialists, railroad barons, lumber magnates.
Okay, those are some serious heavy hitters.
Movers and shakers of their time.
Okay, I'm picturing lavish parties, horse-drawn carriages, maybe even...
Might have scandal or two.
Yeah, is that too much?
Not at all.
Okay, good.
But Summit Avenue is more than just a symbol of wealth.
Yep.
It's a living museum of architectural styles,
Wow.
spanning decades, a testament to the architectural heritage of St. Paul.
It's amazing to think that the governor's mansion is just one piece
Just one piece.
of this grand historical puzzle.
And it's a puzzle that invites exploration.
I bet.
As you stroll down Summit Avenue, you'll encounter a stunning array of architectural styles.
Oh, like what?
We're talking Italianate,
Okay.
with those elaborate brackets and ornate details, Queen Anne with its turrets and towers,
Love it.
Richardsonian Romanesque
Okay.
with its massive stone arches,
Yeah.
and even some beautiful examples of colonial revival.
So basically, it's an architecture lover's dream come true.
It really is.
It is.
And each home has its own unique story to tell. Its own secrets whispered through the generations.
You know what? You're making me want to grab a map and start exploring right now.
You should.
But before we do,
Yeah.
you mentioned ghost stories earlier.
Yes.
Do any of them take place on Summit Avenue?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
No historic neighborhood is complete
Right.
without its share of ghostly tales.
Of course.
And Summit Avenue has some real gems.
Oh, I knew it.
Legend has it that some of these grand old mansions are haunted.
Okay, spill the tea. What have you heard?
One of the most popular stories involves the ghost of a heartbroken socialite
Oh, no.
who roams the halls of her former home searching for her lost love.
That's both sad and spooky.
They say you can sometimes hear the rustle of her silk gown or catch a glimpse of her fleeting shadow in the moonlight.
Well, that's it for this deep dive into the Minnesota Governor's Mansion and its storied neighborhood.
Yeah, it really is a reminder that every place has a story.
Right.
Every building holds secrets waiting to be uncovered.
Well, that's all for today. But until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep into the fascinating world that surrounds us.
See you next time.